It is November 9th, 1914, in Vienna, Austria. Outside, the wind rattles the gas lamps that line the cobbled streets. The world is at war. Austria-Hungary has just plunged into the Great War. But inside the elegant marble-walled Allgemeines Krankenhaus, Vienna's General Hospital, there is a hush. On the third floor, in a sunlit maternity ward trimmed with brass fixtures and white lace curtains, a baby girl is born. Her mother Gertrude holds her close, already suspecting that this child, her first, will be extraordinary. The newborn is named Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler. Her father, Emil Kiesler, stands at the bedside, a tall, dapper man with slick back hair and kind eyes. Emil is a banker. Numbers, details, order. These are his world. But he also has a quiet fascination with how things work. Machines, inventions, the gears beneath the surface of daily life. He will pass this fascination on to his daughter like a secret inheritance. Gertrude, Hedy's mother, is striking and poised, a concert pianist of Jewish descent who gave up her career for family life. She plays Liszt and Brahms on the grand piano in their drawing room back home, where velvet drapes hang heavy and polished wood gleams in every corner. The Kieslers live in the Alsergrund district, a neighbourhood of ornate buildings, bookshops and cafes buzzing with intellectual life. It's the kind of place where Sigmund Freud might pass by on his daily walk, where music floats out of open windows, and cafe tables are dotted with artists and thinkers arguing over coffee and newspapers. The Kieslers are wealthy, yes, but more than that, cultured. Dinner conversations don't just cover business. They delve into philosophy, music, science, the kind of home where a young girl might be given a dollhouse, then quietly dismantle it to see how the hinges work. And that's exactly the kind of girl Hedwig is. From the time she can walk, she's drawn to mechanisms, not toys, not dresses, gadgets. She shadows her father as he tinkers with radios, clocks, even the plumbing. She asks questions, endless questions. Her mind is restless, electric, always reaching beyond what she's told. Vienna in the 1910s is a city of contrasts. Horse-drawn carriages rattle alongside electric trams. Candlelight dinners are served in homes lit by early electric bulbs. The old world is colliding with the new, and little Hedy, though no one knows it yet, will one day help shape the century to come. Hedy is 10, and the world is full of questions. She doesn't just ask them, she hunts them down. Every afternoon, after her lessons, she disappears into her father's study. The room smells of old paper, machine oil, and dust warmed by sunlight. A shortwave radio sits on the desk, humming faintly when it's turned on. There are shelves of engineering journals and technical manuals, well beyond a child's comprehension. But Hedy flips through them anyway, eyes scanning diagrams with a strange, hungry focus. She teaches herself what she can. Voltage, resistance, frequencies. She doesn't have the language yet, but she understands the patterns, the logic. When she finds a tool, tweezers, a magnifying glass, a soldering iron, she uses it until it feels like an extension of her hand. Her father watches quietly. He never scolds her for being different. In fact, he feeds her curiosity. On weekends, he takes her on tram rides through the city, down to the power stations, and across the bridges lined with thick bundles of cables. He explains how electricity moves, how machines obey laws, not magic. Back home, Hedy rewires her toys. She builds a crude phone line between her room and the kitchen using copper wire and bits of wood. Her mother is less amused. "You're a girl," Gertrude says one evening, shaking her head as she pulls yet another screwdriver from beneath Hedy's pillow. "You don't need to know these things." But Hedy doesn't argue. She just listens. Stores the moment like a data point. She's learning something else too, what the world expects of her and what it doesn't. In school, she begins to notice how her teachers respond differently to boys who ask questions about science. They encourage, they praise. When Hedy asks, they smile politely. change the subject. One even says, "It's sweet that you're interested, Hedwig, but girls don't need to worry about motors." That night, Hedy takes apart her alarm clock. Not out of defiance, out of necessity. If no one will teach her, she'll teach herself. The ticking gears in her hands make more sense than the people around her. Machines are honest, predictable. They don't lie, they don't care if you're a girl or a boy. If you understand the rules, they work, and that for Hedy is beautiful. In the early 1930s in Vienna, and Hedwig Kiesler is still only a teenager, but already her beauty turns heads wherever she goes. She walks the streets like a shadow out of myth. She is no ordinary young woman, and she knows it. At 17, she takes her first steps into the world of film. She is drawn in by the glamour, but also by the machinery behind the camera. The lights, the lenses, the precise ballet of angles, frames and shadow. Hedy studies everything. How a set is built, how dialogue is timed, how scenes are lit. She memorizes it like clockwork. But the industry doesn't care about her intellect. What they see is her face. In 1933, she stars in Ecstasy, a Czech film that stuns Europe. It is sensual, bold, and deeply controversial. There are scenes of nudity, a moment of simulated female pleasure. The film is banned in many countries, celebrated in others, and through it all, Hedwig's name is everywhere. To some, she is a scandal. To others, a symbol of modern womanhood. To herself, she is now trapped. The fame of Ecstasy catches the attention of one of the wealthiest men in Austria, Fritz Mandl. He is older, powerful and well-connected. An arms dealer with ties to fascist leaders in Europe, including Mussolini. Mandl is used to getting what he wants, and now he wants Hedwig. She marries him at just 19. At first, the wealth is dizzying. Their estate is massive. They host glittering parties where generals, industrialists, and even royalty gather beneath chandeliers. But behind closed doors, Mandl is possessive, controlling. He forbids her from acting, removes all copies of Ecstasy he can find, treats her like a prized possession, one that must be locked away. Hedy lives in a golden cage. Her days are filled with silence and obedience. But even here, she is learning. At Mandl's side during business dinners, she listens, learns about weapons, torpedoes, radio control. She's silent but never idle. She becomes fluent in the language of war, and she files every detail away. Years pass. She plans her escape in whispers and shadows. One night, wearing a maid's uniform and carrying only what she can hide in her handbag, Hedy slips away from the estate. She flees across the border to Paris. Mandl, furious, uses every connection to hunt her down, but she moves quickly. Her next stop is London. In London, fate takes the shape of a man named Louis B. Mayer, the all-powerful head of MGM Studios. Hedy meets him at a party. He has no idea who she is, only that she looks like a vision stepped off a movie screen. At first he is dismissive, but Hedy is no longer the girl from Vienna. She negotiates her own contract. She renames herself Hedy Lamarr, a new name for a new life. She boards a ship to America. On that same ship is Clark Gable and other stars of the silver screen. Hedy keeps mostly to herself. She stands on the deck as the ocean wind blows through her hair, staring westward. Her mind is racing. Her body is free. And for the first time in years, her future is her own. When she arrives in Hollywood, the town doesn't know what to do with her. She's too beautiful, they say, too poised, too unreachable. But on screen, she glows. She doesn't act in the traditional sense. She inhabits. She becomes the mystery, the fantasy, the dream. But behind the camera, in her dressing room, she draws diagrams, reads engineering books, sketches designs on scraps of script paper. She is acting to survive. But invention, that is what makes her feel alive. Hollywood falls hard for Hedy Lamarr, not overnight, but quickly enough to feel like destiny. Her first major film, Algiers, 1938, sends audiences into a trance. She barely speaks a dozen lines, yet her presence fills the screen. Critics call her exotic, hypnotic, unlike anyone else in American cinema. She becomes the face of the unattainable, the perfect woman, sculpted in light and shadow. But beneath the glamour, she's all calculation. She studies every angle, every line of dialogue, every frame. Her instincts are razor sharp. She knows how to look into the camera and make it believe anything she wants. The roles come fast. Boomtown in 1940, Ziegfeld Girl in 41, White Cargo in 42. In each, she plays variations of the same archetype, the dangerous beauty, the mysterious outsider. Hollywood doesn't know how to write her complexity, so they settle for surface. But she makes it work. She carves out space in the narrow roles they give her. Then comes Samson and Delilah in 1940, a biblical epic, huge in scope and spectacle. Hedy plays Delilah with a quiet intensity that burns through the Technicolor frame. The film is a massive hit, one of the highest grossing of the decade. Overnight, she becomes not just a star, but a legend. She walks red carpets in silk gowns and diamond earrings. Her photo graces magazine covers around the world. She dines with presidents and princes. People quote her lines, imitate her walk, name perfumes after her. And still, behind closed doors, she sketches, designs, builds. Hollywood sees only the surface. Hedy Lamarr is not just a star, she is a mind hiding in plain sight. On the surface, Hedy Lamarr dazzles Hollywood, flashing smiles, glowing under bright lights, commanding the screen with effortless grace. But behind the camera, between takes, in the quiet of her trailer, she becomes something far more extraordinary, an inventor. While makeup artists and assistants fuss over her appearance, Hedy pulls out sketches, scribbled notes and diagrams. These aren't scripts or costume designs, they are ideas. Mechanical puzzles, electrical circuits, blueprints for a secret world of communication she's obsessed with unlocking. Her fascination with machines isn't new. From childhood, she's been captivated by how things work. As the wife of an arms dealer, she's overheard countless conversations about weapons, codes and radio signals. Now, with the world at war, she's determined to turn that curiosity into something meaningful. Her partner in this quest is an unlikely collaborator, George Antheil, a wildly unconventional composer and inventor. Antheil is famous for his avant-garde music that uses mechanical instruments, including airplane propellers and player pianos, to create unpredictable rhythms. To Hedy, he's a kindred spirit, someone who sees the future in technology and chaos. Together, they brainstorm a way to protect Allied torpedoes from enemy interference. Radio-controlled torpedoes can be jammed or misdirected by enemies using simple signals. This vulnerability means torpedoes often miss their targets, wasting lives and resources. What if the radio signal could change frequency rapidly, hopping from one frequency to another so fast that no enemy could follow? A sort of secret code in the air, shifting constantly like a dancer changing steps. This concept, frequency hopping spread spectrum, is revolutionary. It involves synchronizing the transmitter and receiver so they jump between frequencies in perfect unison, making it nearly impossible for jammers to block or interfere. Hedy and George develop a system using a player piano roll, a mechanical device that plays music, by triggering notes with punched holes on a paper strip to control the frequency changes. It's a brilliant marriage of art and engineering, blending the unpredictable rhythms of music with the precision of radio signals. In 1942, they file a patent for their invention. The US Navy, while intrigued, ultimately decides not to adopt the technology during the war. The reasons are complex, partly because radio technology and military protocols of the time aren't ready for such an innovation, and partly because Hedy is seen as an actress, not an engineer. Yet the impact of their invention doesn't end there. Decades later, the principles of frequency hopping become the foundation for modern wireless technologies. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS all rely on the concept of rapidly changing frequencies to avoid interference and ensure secure communication. Hedy's work, once overlooked, becomes a cornerstone of the connected world. By the 1950s, the dazzling spotlight of Hollywood that once embraced Hedy Lamarr begins to fade. The film roles become scarce, the offers fewer, and the world that once adored her for her beauty struggles to recognize the brilliant mind beneath that shimmering surface. The actress who captivated millions now faces personal and financial challenges that shadow her once glorious career. Her personal life is turbulent. Hedy marries and divorces multiple times, and her fortune slowly dwindles. Despite the fame and glamour, she lives much of her later years in relative obscurity, away from the bright cameras and flashing lights. Yet beneath this quiet exterior lies a woman whose invention quietly pulses through the very fabric of modern technology. Meanwhile, the technology community begins to rediscover her contribution. Engineers and inventors researching wireless communication stumble upon the patent filed by an unlikely inventor, a glamorous Hollywood star who co-developed a revolutionary method called frequency hopping spread spectrum. This discovery reshapes how her legacy is understood, not just as a movie icon, but as a visionary inventor far ahead of her time. In 1997, decades after the patent was granted, Hedy Lamarr and her collaborator, George Antheil, received the Electronic Frontier Foundation Pioneer Award. This honour recognises their innovative work and its profound impact on communication technologies. Though the award comes late in her life, it signifies growing respect for her achievements beyond the silver screen. Hedy Lamarr passed away on January 19, 2000 in her home in Altadena, California. She died peacefully. Her death marked the end of a remarkable life that bridged glamour and genius, art and science. Though she left the world physically, her legacy lives on in ways few could have imagined. Today, every time we connect to Wi-Fi, pair devices via Bluetooth, or navigate using GPS, we rely on principles rooted in Hedy Lamarr's invention. Her frequency hopping technology laid the groundwork for secure, reliable wireless communication that underpins the digital age. From smartphones to satellite navigation, her idea keeps our world connected. Hedy Lamarr's story challenges us to look beyond appearances and celebrate the hidden brilliance within. She reminds us that innovation can come from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the brightest stars are those who shine unseen.